Hi, I'm Jerry Burak of Burak Byproducts. I've been nicknamed the Keeper of the Knowledge. This is my place of business as well as my fun place. I have a complete machine shop, welding facilities. Um, I work on old engines as well as new engines. I do technical development on two-stroke race engines I have for years, not only for motocross, desert, but also for Grand Prix racing. I've learned many things in my years. This is my first of many videos, and it's kind of funny because I'm at age 84 and I'm just starting these things. I will take you around and I will show you my shop, what we do. I'm currently restoring two race engines, TZ 250, 1987, and it is a case reed induction. They only made this particular engine 2 years. We have an RG 500 Suzuki, which is the 4-cylinder, square, 125 each cylinder, the 500cc. I was lucky enough to restore a factory Grand Prix RG 500. It used to belong to, well, actually it was the backup bike for Barry Sheen, who was 4 or 5-time world champion. And the bike had some very interesting things on the inside. The RG 500 I have now is a street version. It was brought in from Canada because they don't really sell them in the United States. I'm into a lot of early bicycle engines, foreign engines. I have some as far back as 1919. A lot of mine are probably early 50s. They were developed right after World War II when people didn't have money for gas and they didn't have money for transportation vehicles. I have some pretty interesting stuff and I would love to share a lot of this stuff. Some of the technical knowledge that I've acquired, I would love to pass on. I had a tuning school in the 70s with my partner, and we would talk of 2-stroke, 4-stroke, porting, carburation, ignition. And when you get into exhaust systems of 2 or 4-stroke, mainly the 2-strokes, you get the expansion chambers. I showed most of the young students as well as the elderly students how you can get pretty close designing these things just using basic algebra and basic trig. You don't need to get into the calculuses. I have a degree in math. I have a degree in kinesiology. The kinesiology end of it, I was able to work with an orthopedic surgeon for 13 years. He did nothing but hips and knees, and we developed surgical instruments. They all had to go through an autoclave. They were used in operating rooms. In fact, I had my first hip done, and when they were wheeling me in, I asked my doc, I said, well, Dennis, how many people can say they've made their own tools that we're going to use on them in the operating room? And he said, Jerry, you're the only one. Worked with, for 15 years, my partner and I worked with some of the top wheelchair racers in the world. We had a product, stationary training rollers they used, and learned a lot of stuff medically where the medical books don't agree, but that doesn't matter. That's not the real world. I tend to pick the real world, what really is. And all my race bikes, my dyno basically was a stopwatch. You have to accelerate from point A to B, not show high numbers on a dyno. It doesn't tell you how long it took to get there. And in the mid-70s, my privateer Grand Prix bikes were faster than the factory bikes. That was told to me by a factory rider who said, hey, your privateer bike is faster than my bike. They ended up using all my stuff inside their factory bike. Yamaha didn't particularly like that because it had English amyl carburetors on it, which most people really don't know how good they are. But the Japanese philosophy is win, and that's exactly what the bike did, so they didn't touch my stuff in that, and they race that all over the world. There are some myths when you get into welding, arc welding. I do arc welding, I do TIG, I do MIG, gas welding. They all have their place. And when you build expansion chambers, for example, the best way you can weld out is by gas and not by electric, and we'll get into that. Welding cast iron, you never, ever, ever arc weld cast iron. I learned that over 40 years ago. I use a spray powder torch. It sprays pure nickel. It's chelated in its own flux, and it looks like just like an iron powder. And I'll tell you the methods to use on that, and I've never had a failure or crack in all these years. I'll leave it at that. Look for some of my videos. This time I think I'll walk around, point out some of the stuff in my shop, and if you have any questions or ever want to bring another subject up, hopefully I can enlighten you on that. That's it for now. Bye.